If you've been around comic characters before, you've probably come across the Fantastic Four, at least by seeing them. Their iconic matching blue costumes make them a little hard to miss. But who are the Fantastic Four? Before I introduce you to the Fantastic Four, I want to talk about the concept of found families. A found family is when people, usually close friends, who aren't related by blood form a bond together, choosing their own family. If you've seen any of my videos talking about Loki Season 2, you'll have heard me talking about Loki choosing their own found family at the TVA this last season. But what does a found family do for the plot? As a trope, it's a device that explores the bond between unrelated friends, often brought together through similar circumstances or experiences, and they create a bond through that. This trope resonates with many people because it instills a hope and assurance, reminding people that they aren't alone, even if they feel they may be. A lot of people in the LGBTQIA+ communities especially relate to this trope because so many of them cannot find that support and familial bond in their own families, so they find these bonds within their own friendships and communities, and the media they consume. So seeing it portrayed in fiction is inspiring. That being said, the Fantastic Four are often considered Marvel's first family, but that's a little complicated. In their story, they are both family by choice and also related in regards to Johnny and Susan, and also eventually through marriage. Sue marries Reed and Ben becomes the uncle to their children. In our reality, Marvel Comics was going through a change when the Fantastic Four came onto the scene. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby became the main creatives during this time, and that gave way to the Fantastic Four. Then we got other familiar faces like Spider-Man, Thor, X-Men, and many others afterwards, making them the literal first family of the new age of Marvel as we have come to know it. I'm sure you're all asking, hey, why all of this and we don't even know who they are yet? I hear you. Let me introduce you. The man of the hour and the person everyone seems to call for help when things go haywire is Reed Richards, also known as Mr. Fantastic and our team's leader. He is a scientist and inventor who is considered to be the smartest man on Earth. He was born in California to wealthy parents Nathaniel Richards and his wife Evelyn. Nathaniel Richards being a very familiar name if you've seen my videos on Loki and Kang in the past, but it is not that Nathaniel Richards, which is very confusing, because Kang is a descendant of this Nathaniel Richards family when he moved to Earth 6311, and is a descendant of Reed's half-brother Arthur. It's wibbly wobbly timey wimey. Evelyn died when Reed was 7, leaving his father to raise him. When Reed was 18, his father was recruited by the Brotherhood of S.H.I.E.L.D. and had to leave Reed, who eventually made his way to State University in New York to continue his studies. Here he meets two of the most important people in his life. One being a foreign student and a scientific genius named Victor Von Doom, and the other being his roommate Benjamin J. Grimm, the later of who became his closest friend. Ben Grimm grew up as an orphan on Yancey Street in New York. His father was an alcoholic and he couldn't hold a job, and his brother, Daniel, was their main source of income. But he was killed in a battle with a rival gang, and within 10 years, Ben took his place as the leader of the Yancey Street gang. After his parents' death, he was taken in by his uncle, eventually leaving the gang and attending high school and becoming a football star there. When he graduated, he got a football scholarship to State University when he met Reed and playfully joked that he would one day fly whatever starship Reed would end up creating if he ever managed it. He eventually goes off to join the US Air Force and become a highly skilled fighter pilot, test pilot, and astronaut. While attending university, Reed Richards rented a space in a Manhattan boarding house, which was owned by the aunt of a young woman named Susan Storm, where he instantly fell in love with her, moving out of the space shortly after because he was too distracted by her to focus on his work. That sounds like a skill issue. Susan and her younger brother Johnny lost their mom in a car accident when they were younger. Their father was a doctor who failed to save her and turned to drinking and gambling, and was arrested for killing his own loan shark. This led the siblings to move in with their aunt in Manhattan. In her late teens, she met Reed Richards and fell in love with him, later following Richards to California, where she tried to get into show business. And while their upbringing was the same, it is important to note that their mother's death made Johnny interested in automobiles, becoming a good mechanic at a young age. And as a teenager, he rescued two of his friends from a burning building. Becoming friends with Reed through Sue, he became the youngest pilot for NASA, feeling that there was something out there waiting for him. So the four are assembled. Reed Richards, now based in California, is given money from the government to fund his project, a starship. He recruited Ben Grimm to pilot it and named it the Marvel 1. Roll credits. After defeating Gormu, who had threatened to conquer Earth, the federal government threatened to withdraw its funding from the Starship project. So like any sane person would, Richards decides to test flight it before the funding was taken away from from him. Grimm, despite being opposed to the idea because he was worried that the shielding wouldn't be enough to protect them from the radiation, was persuaded to pilot the ship anyway, with Susan, Reed, and Johnny as passengers. Together, they snuck into the launch facility, stole the starship, and took off, before being blasted with cosmic radiation on their way to another solar system. Looks like Grimm was right. Because of this, Grimm forced them to return to Earth. Upon their return to Earth, they realized that the radiation had caused their bodies to change. Reed discovering that his body was now malleable and he could control it at will. Grimm was transformed into a orange-colored, thick-skinned, superhumanly strong thing. Johnny was given the ability to envelop his body in fire, and Sue was able to turn herself invisible and project force fields. So Mr. Fantastic, the Thing, the Invisible Woman, and Johnny Blaze became the superhero team known as the Fantastic Four. This team then became the most honored team of superhuman adventurers, and have saved the world countless times over the years, becoming a true family to each other in that time. I hope this gives just a general understanding of the origin of the Fantastic Four, and if you like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Remember to stay geeky!